This is Generation Stadia, giving you that daily dose of everything and anything Stadia related, and today we will be reviewing the PlayStation Now cloud gaming service. The streaming service itself currently offers over 800 games that rotate in and out from the PS2, PS3, and PS4 era of games for you to stream at the low price of $9.99 a month, $24.99 quarterly, or $59.99 a year. Sony recommends a minimum of at least 5 megabits per second internet speed and does offer a 7-day free trial of the service if you want to check it out. While the initial value is clear, does the service hold up? Let's dive in and find out. Let's start with the service's strongest selling point, and that's the sheer amount of games offered at a flat $10 fee each month. 800 plus games is an insane amount, but are the games any good? Well, I'm happy to say that yeah, the games offered actually aren't that bad. I mean, don't get me wrong, there are certainly games here of questionable quality. Yeah, I'm looking at you, Jimmy Johnson. But there are some serious PlayStation staple franchises on offer here that span multiple generations of PlayStation. I mean, if you haven't already played through the Uncharted series, then the PlayStation Now service lets you do just that at a super low price, and it's not just first-party titles either. Devil May Cry 1 through 4 is here, the LEGO Games catalog is here. If you're into fighters, the majority of the BlazBlue catalog is, you guessed it, here too. And this is just a quick example of some of the franchises on offer, because there are plenty others too. The service also does an excellent job at catering games to people of all ages. There's plenty of family-friendly content for kids to enjoy, as well as games for the more mature audience. I'd say for the most part, they really managed to cover their bases when it comes to genres too, but I would say if you're a fan of the racing genre, it does leave a little more to be desired. It was kinda shocking considering Sony owns one of the best-selling franchises of all time, Gran Turismo, and yet it doesn't show up in their own service. Speaking of which, that rolls into what quite possibly is my biggest gripe with the service itself. Currently, PlayStation Now gives you access to games like God of War, Uncharted 4, GTA 5, and Infamous Second Son as part of their monthly marquee games feature. Each month they plan on adding these in, but only for a limited time period, which currently seems to be 3 months. Now for games like GTA 5 or any other third-party title, I get it and it makes sense, but the fact that first-party titles like Uncharted 4, let alone Infamous Second Son, a title which launched back in 2014 by the way, will be removed feels like a bad move to me. PlayStation Now should offer some of the best PlayStation has to offer. Now I'm not saying that they have to offer their brand new first-party titles on launch like Xbox does with Game Pass. Sony does an excellent job at selling those games regardless. But there should be absolutely no reason that games way past their prime like Infamous Second Son should be rotating out. It's a great game, but I highly doubt many people are buying it new today. So then why bother making this a marquee title if you're just gonna remove it 3 months down the road? Despite this, it's very clear that at $10 a month, the service is a bargain for the amount of games you get access to. And the catalog itself does offer a great variety to choose from, so it should be an easy recommend, right? Well, hold on to that thought because up next we're talking about actually playing games on the service. Now when it comes to cloud gaming, having a good selection of games means nothing if the games themselves don't play good, and sadly that has to be a pretty big concern of mine when it comes to recommending PlayStation Now. Now before I begin here, I want to make it very clear that I'm playing in both a supported country and a 600 megabit connection. Now, out of all the cloud gaming services available at the time of this recording, by far it has to be the worst one when it comes to input lag. To be perfectly clear, the games are completely playable, just not ideal. There are only a few specific cases in my testing which I would say they were downright unplayable. In fact, let's focus on 2 of them right now. First up is Killzone Shadowfall, a game that was a PS4 launch title, but also a game that is notoriously known for its input lag and heavy feel. Now when you put that input lag on top of the latency caused by the PlayStation Now game streaming service, it's really an awful experience. So much so that it drags you out of any sort of immersion the game's trying to put you in, and makes playing the game feel like a chore to do. To be perfectly clear, I tried looking into this and some people report that they don't feel this input lag, but it was instantly noticeable to me. The second game I tried in which the delay was too much to handle was Sonic Generations. The game feels off if you've ever played it at all before, and it just doesn't feel responsive enough to play as intended. While the input delay is manageable in the side-scrolling sections of gameplay, it really does stand out in the third-person camera portions. Trying to control Sonic left to right when moving at fast speeds is a frustrating experience. Interestingly enough, Sonic Generations is another game that seems to have its fair share of complaints of having above average input lag on online forums. This does make me question whether or not games that suffer from higher input lag on local hardware are just not suitable to be streamed. Now with that out of the way, I do want to point out that these were 2 games out of the dozens I tried out, and the rest of the games played well enough. The input delay was noticeable but 100% manageable. Even so, it does not take away the fact that out of the streaming services I have tried so far, this one seems the worst when it comes to input lag. Next up, let's discuss the visual quality. Honestly, I wish I could tell you otherwise, but PlayStation Now's visual stream quality is another serious downfall. At the time of this video, games can currently only be streamed at 720p resolution. For a mobile phone, this resolution is good enough and acceptable, but at this time the service can only run on a PC and PS4. 720p is quite the drop in visual clarity compared to playing these games locally or being streamed at 1080p anywhere else. On the screen, you're seeing what Sonic Generations looks like when it's running locally in 1080p compared to PlayStation Now's 720p stream. You can fairly quickly spot the difference in quality, not to mention due to being a stream, you do sometimes catch some artifacting popping in and out. Now, I'm not trying to say that you should be expecting it to match local hardware, but for a streaming service, 720p is very far behind. Especially when you consider the fact that PlayStation Now doesn't currently support mobile phones. There's really not much else to be said about the visuals at this time, and I certainly hope for it to offer at the very least 1080p streaming sometime in the near future. After all, PlayStation Now launched its open beta back in 2014, it's had more than enough time to get 1080p streaming up and running. Now let's discuss the extras. In terms of the extra features that PlayStation Now offers, there is one standout feature that actually makes this service a much easier recommend despite the negatives I've mentioned previously. That is, if you own a PS4. PlayStation Now actually allows you to download select PS4 games locally onto your console, and that may just be the service's saving grace. This means for the $10 fee that they ask for up front, you're not only getting streaming, but you're also going to be able to play a bunch of new games locally on your hardware. In a way, it's a mixed combination of something like Xbox Game Pass with a streaming service. Other than that, I think it's important to mention the fact that despite what PlayStation may tell you, the PC version of PlayStation Now does in fact work with an Xbox controller. The only time you may run into an issue is when the game utilizes the touchpad on the DualShock 4, but games that require that function are few and far between. Overall, the PlayStation Now service is an affordable way to try out and play PlayStation games on your PC. It's certainly not the ideal way to play them, but it's definitely much cheaper than buying a PS4 if all you wanted to do was play God of War or Uncharted 4. And if you do happen to have a PS4, the deal is much better simply because it allows you to download and play a good chunk of the PS4 games and some PS2 games locally on top of being able to stream the rest. I did mention earlier that it seems like a hybrid of both Game Pass and other game streaming services, but it doesn't excel one way or the other. As of right now, PlayStation doesn't match Xbox's deal of having their exclusives launch day and date along with their service. On top of that, it seems like Sony wants to remove a lot of their first-party titles after a short period of time. And if you're only interested in the streaming aspect of the service, you're gonna be stuck streaming at 720p. As for rating, at this point in time, I give the PlayStation Now service a 7 out of 10. It provides what I would call a just okay streaming experience, but is saved by its exceptional value through its game catalog and low entry price. That being said, if you're looking for the best possible streaming service out there, it leaves a lot to be desired, and I would really recommend checking out other offerings. Now, if you liked the video or found it helpful at all, be sure to hit that like button as it really does help the channel out, and if you're wanting more content like this, be sure to subscribe and hit that notification bell as well. For today's end of video message, I'm going to be looking for some feedback on this review video. It would be extremely helpful if you could tell me things you liked about it, didn't like, or things you would change. This is going to be the review format for all the Stadia games I review, as well as other streaming services I'll be reviewing later down the line. Any and all feedback is welcome, as it will help me shape the future of this review format as we get closer and closer to Stadia's launch. Be sure to let me know in the comment section below, or if you want to message it to me directly, then be sure to join our community Discord and you can let me know there. The invite link to the community Discord will be in the pinned comment below, and other than that, I just want to give you a huge thank you for being patient with this video. I want to make sure that I make good reviews that you can all enjoy while keeping them fairly straight to the point. Anyways, this has been Generation Stadia, giving you that daily dose of everything and anything Stadia related. The Gen S community is over 1,500 strong and growing by the day, and until next time, I'll catch you in the clouds.